Hello and welcome to Simply Vita. I'm so happy that you're here. My name is Angela. I am the creator and owner of Della Vita Organic Skincare. Today, we are going to be talking about healing in a different way through energy, connection. And my guest today is Nicole Adomonis. She is a certified Reiki practitioner, as well as a certified yoga instructor and an accomplished artist. She's a really, really interesting person, and I'm so happy that she agreed to come on to teach us all a little bit more about Reiki. So, without further ado, let me welcome Nicole Adomonis. There you are.
Can you see me now?
Now it's good. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
can
when
see
I
you
when
now.
I logged off the same thing, it was showing something was uploading, so it's just probably
Yeah.
buffering, something's happening, so it should be
Ye
uploaded by now. It's good?
yeah. I think it just takes, like, a minute for it to upload.
Okay.
So I was saying in the intro how we're going to be discussing healing in a different way through creativity, connection, and art and energy. Just I'll repeat it again. We discussed it offline, but we recorded this podcast already, and I had a technical glitch, and the whole podcast didn't record. So Nicole was nice enough and gracious enough to hop back on. So we're going to have this conversation, which was wonderful. Again, we may just switch it up a little bit to make it Nicole not bored. So, Nicole, so I wanted to have you on so you can teach us a little bit more about the healing modality of Reiki. And I wanted to begin by asking you what drew you to Reiki and what made you start to learn more about it and then eventually actually become a practitioner?
Well, for me, I've always been a curious person. I always wanted to know more about any topic and more just to learn more about myself. I always enjoyed knowing what makes people tick, and we all have things in our life that we want to change or work on. And I think when come from that kind of a mindset that you always want to make things better, you're always looking for answers. So whether you have a health issue or issues in your life with, yourself, relationships, whatever, things aren't working the way that you want them to, you start looking for answers. So for me, I've always seen myself as starting from one point, and then every next thing that I started to learn just drew me deeper and deeper and deeper. I've always been interested in health and being as healthy as possible. I started working in spas, and working in spas I had access to many different healing modalities. Things like massage, acupuncture, Reiki was one of them. I got into yoga. So all those things just swirling around, I was always somebody who was interested and curious. So I tried different things. I was referred to somebody who lived in the area, and I went and I gave it a shot.
That's great. So when you first started, you were actually going to receive Reiki, and then you were interested enough that you decided to pursue a certification.
Yes.
What
Um,
made you like it so much that you wanted to do a certification?
so initially, honestly, I didn't really know what had happened. I didn't know that I felt anything in particular. I just know that I felt different and something shifted. And I knew I wanted to keep going deeper. With things like Reiki, it's usually a subtle shift. For me, used to feel like I had heavy, wet blankets on me. And then by doing different things, I'm sure it's not just Reiki, it was probably a cumulative effect. I felt that shift of the release of that heaviness. And it's a subtle thing. So you'll be going along your life, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, I don't feel that thing anymore, or I don't think this way anymore. This changed. And you realize, like, wow, something really did happen and really did change. So I think it was more of a
Yeah.
gradual thing. But when I began becoming a practitioner and getting my certification in that, I was already doing yoga. So it was just another thing that I wanted. Again, when you're on a journey of exploration and learning, you want to go as deep as you can to learn about yourself and to find out what makes you tick so that you can make changes in your life for the better. So for me, I'm always like, okay,
Mm.
bring it on. Let's do it. You know,
Yeah.
it was one of those things.
Yeah, I love when people start to do something and it feels so good that they want to just dive deeper and not just be somebody who's receiving the treatment, but actually be somebody who's giving the treatment. I think that's just such a, an honorable thing to do because you're just sharing that good feeling with somebody else. Tell me a little bit about what Reiki is. Like where is the origins of Reiki? Where did it come from?
So it came from Japan, from Dr. Yusui, who was a theologian. And he was in school and he was asking questions, and nobody was able to give him the answers that he was looking for. And he saw so many people suffering, and, n- nobody was really doing anything about it. And he was frustrated with that. So he left school and he went on a journey, and he meditated under the tree where the Buddha did, and after 10 days, he got this message and he received this information about this healing modality. And it was only available and then somebody that he taught opened up a clinic and started utilizing it in a way that you can actually measure the changes that were happening.
Hmm.
And then there was a woman that was terminally ill, and she came to him and wanted to learn it. And he wouldn't teach it to her because she was a woman, and she wouldn't
Oh,
stop. She kept going. She kept asking, and finally he gave her the certification, and she brought it to Hawaii, and then that's how it came to the U.S.
wow. That's so interesting. I didn't know. I never knew that backstory. And
Yeah.
it
So the
has
interesting is when you get this lineage passed on to you, it's transferred from another Reiki master to you, and your lineage can be traced all the way back to Dr. Yusui from Japan.
wow. Was that tree the
Hmm.
Bodhi tree?
Yeah.
That's like I honestly had no idea that that was the backstory of Reiki. So it's really an honor to be taught it, right? By
Yeah.
a master. 'Cause you
Yes.
and so if you were to teach it to somebody else, like, if you kept teaching it, it would eventually, like, they can, like would it go back to you? Like, you're one of the people that are in that line of Reiki
Yes.
practitioners?
Yes.
That's amazing. So, when you're going for Reiki, I just wanted, everybody to get an idea of exactly what it is. So, if you can explain the technique, in some way that people would understand what you're receiving when you actually go to a Reiki session.
Right. Okay. So the person receiving it is lying down on a table. Have all they're fully clothed. They're made as comfortable as they need to be. If they want music, if they need a blanket, you make sure that they're warm enough. And we start out with a prayer, just a prayer for protection and a prayer to make sure that the energy is used for the highest good for the person receiving it. And then the whole session is me placing my hands a few inches above the person throughout the whole session. If I do need to touch them or want to touch them, I would ask first. And you don't need to do any touching at all, but sometimes I'll put my hand on a shoulder, but it works by hovering right over the body about an inch or so.
And the energy is coming from you into the person that is laying on the table?
So it's chi, so it's life force energy that is channeled through my hands. And I am the facilitator of the session. So I am not healing anybody. I'm not doing anything. I'm just allowing the energy to flow. And that person who is the recipient has already made an agreement that they want this energy. So they will accept that energy, and their body will utilize it in the way that it needs to be utilized.
The and the energy, can you direct the energy to one specific part of their body that they're like, say somebody says that, "My shoulder hurts," or my leg hurts," or "I have a heartbreak." Like, can you direct the energy to that one specific spot?
Yes. Again, the person receiving the energy has all of the control in the session. So they decide in the beginning if they want to work on a specific area or not. And if they do, I will
Mhm.
work on those specific areas. Now, that being said, when the energy flows, the energy will go where it needs. So they might think that they need healing, in this area of the body, but something else might be connected to that. And that is where the energy will go and flow.
Wow. So how long have you been practicing Reiki?
Uh, I would say since 2012.
So for a long time. So the longer you practice does your ability to transfer the energy, does it get stronger the longer, like, is it something that over time, the ability to maybe be a more effective Reiki practitioner, does it grow? Does it just get, better? Or is it always like a baseline? Like this is the practice and it's always going to be the same.
So once you are initiated into this lineage, you will always have Reiki. If you don't use it, it's like a muscle. It will atrophy, but it will never go away. The more you utilize it, like anything else, you yourself become more attuned to what you're sensing, what you're feeling. You get, more intuition. The energy flow will be a little bit stronger. Yes. So the more that you
Mhm.
do utilize it, the more in tune you will be to how it's working and how it's being affected.
So is Reiki for anybody, even children? Can children receive Reiki?
Yes, but Reiki should never be used on anybody without their permission. So I will
Okay.
never, like, even if you called me up and said, "Hey, my friend, can you do Reiki on her?" I'm like, "Well, no." They have to give me permission. So it should only be utilized when somebody asks for it. But yes, it can be used
S
on pets. It can be used on plants. It can be used on anything or anybody.
Pets? That's so
Yeah, there's a
interesting. It can be
whole
used.
pet Reiki thing. Yeah.
Wow. Can you do Reiki on pets?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that. You really can't gift it to somebody and say like, "Surprise, here's a Reiki session." They have to actually ask for it.
Well, if you think that they're inclined to be interested in something like that, you can give it to them, but they would still have to say, "Yeah, I want this," and
Yeah,
you know,
that makes sense. That
yeah,
makes sense. But what a nice gift to give somebody, right?
yeah.
So did any one person inspire you that, if just to get into the healing arts, so if there was somebody that, inspired you along the way, would you say, like, just even to follow Reiki, is there one person that you could think of that inspired you to keep going with it?
Oh my God, I have so many mentors just in my life in general. I mean, on so many different levels. So if it's just in the healing arts, I would say Moksha Priya. She's my yoga teacher. Teresa Venezia, she's one of my Reiki masters. Anita Donofrio is the first Reiki practitioner that I ever went to. And Valerie
Wow.
Nichols is a yoga teacher and a Reiki master. And Janine Ambrose was one of my anatomy teacher in yoga. But I'm sure I have like
And do you
a million other people.
Yeah, mentors are so important, right? To
Oh,
have a
yeah.
mentor. I think it's
I
something
mean,
that
and my
somebody
family.
some is I'm sorry, say that again?
I said, and my family, even though they're not in the healing arts. I mean, of course, they've encouraged me and supported me along the way.
Inspired you.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's so important too, just to have that. That's energy, right? Your family giving you that
yeah.
energy to
My family's amazing.
just
Yeah.
they are you have an amazing family. The Adamonises, they're great.
Thank you.
So, yeah, they are. It's like, it's the Adamonises. So, saying that, it is really important to have that energy around you, and I think your familial energy is super important, whether or not they're in it or they're not, but the encouragement that they would give you or just the permission to just be yourself. That I think is
Yes.
just huge. Just
Yes.
having people around you that are just like, "You do you, and we'll just celebrate you when when you're doing your thing and, just as long as you're enjoying it. You don't have to be a
Yes.
participant. Yeah, I think that's huge. So, do you feel like before you did Reiki, did you feel any skepticism? And did other people that you spoke to about it, like, give you any feedback that they felt skepticism, that it was like not something that was a real thing that can be actually something that can help?
Do you mean somebody who came to me as a person who wanted it, or just in general when I would
Like,
talk to?
general, either way, or maybe even,
Yeah.
somebody who actually did come to you and you felt their resistance to actually believing that it worked, or somebody just on the outside that was like, "Oh, you're doing something that's hokey, it's not real."
I mean, sure. I mean, when you're involved in healing arts and things that you can't see, that are not tangible, there's always going to be skepticism. So I think when you approach these things and when you're open to them, you have to have a sense of curiosity and a sense of faith in the fact that things do and can happen that we can't see, or that we don't have something that we, can say, you did this and that's why this happened. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but now that it's become a lot more mainstream, most nurses have Reiki in their toolbox
Mhm.
in cancer hospitals specifically. So if you're somebody or you know somebody who's gone through cancer and they're in one of the top cancer hospitals, Reiki is always on the menu as one of the modalities that they'll offer. They offer massage, all different kinds of spa treatments. Reiki is always one of them. And Reiki is really great to offset the effects of chemotherapy and to facilitate
Mm.
healing. So I think that Reiki is a wonderful adjunct and addition to allopathic medicine to helping the process. But yeah, sure, there's always
That
people
makes
that
sense.
are going to poo poo it. Yeah.
I mean, I guess when somebody does that, I mean, it doesn't really matter if you believe in it or not, right? I mean, it's just like you said, being open to something that may help. And I feel like it's more of if, you can do it or you can not do it. Like it's not, nobody's forcing anybody to try any of these modalities. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I do feel that, especially when you're talking about like it being incorporated into cancer treatment centers, it's such an amazing thing because it's energy, right? And energy is exactly what you need to like promote when you're sick and to, move around. And, it is really just nice to have, a person that can even try it on somebody and then they can, decide for themselves whether it works or not and whether they want to keep doing it, right?
I mean, at the very least, anyone who's ever been on my table, they've all reported back to me the next day that they were very relaxed and they slept the best that they slept in the longest time. So even if somebody was like a skeptic, which I'm sure that some of the people that came on my table have been, they did report back to me that they felt more relaxed. So even if I did that, good.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go into something being a skeptic and then leave being a believer, That's I think the key would be to be open to even trying it, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
so I know my experience with it was only with you. It was only one time and it was a long time ago, but I was experiencing the worst headache and it was a stress, like a tension headache, a real stress headache. And so I was just open to it to try it and I just left and I felt something. And my headache was literally gone. So I always wanted to circle back to it because and I just never did. That's why I really wanted to speak to you about it because in all honesty, you're the only Reiki practitioner that I know. And I do know it's something that was really effective. And, I just wanted people to know about it because it is something, that's worth trying if you're going through any type of discomfort. And tell me if this is correct. It's even for emotional discomfort. Yes.
Yeah, so it to me, I always say it's like getting an energetic tune-up. So kind of like it's not the same as acupuncture, but similar, where acupuncture works on energy meridians. Reiki works on your chakra system, which is your energy bodies, centers that run up and down your spine. So each of those energy centers correlates to a physical, organ or body part. And then it also relates to an emotional component. So it has multifaceted layers. So when you're working on
Mm.
one or more chakras areas, it's going to affect the physical, the emotional.
That makes sense. So I have a question. If you because especially as you get more attuned to the practice, if you're around people, do you feel their energy more? Do you feel like as a practitioner you feel people's energy more because already know how to get mentally prepared to transfer energy when you're around people? Do you ever feel like, well, this person needs Reiki? Like, like this person may need some sort of energy shifting, or is it only when you're in the room, when you're in your
Yeah, I
studio?
I kind of turn it off. I don't have it like on, like it's not radar. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm a
Yeah,
sensitive person. I am a sensitive person,
yeah,
so I do feel things, but I'm never like filtering it through that. I
yeah.
definitely like when I'm in the room with somebody, I go into a different space where I'm there for that purpose, and then like I'm not trying to assess people, when I'm not doing that. But I am
That
sensitive,
that
and I know, like, after I leave a room or if I leave somebody who, like, is draining, that's what I'll feel. I'll just feel like, you know what I mean? Kind of thing.
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think as, like, empathetic people, and if you're an empath in any way, you do feel people's energies, whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
So, I don't think you have to be a Reiki
No.
practitioner to feel that, right?
Right.
Just a sensitive
No.
person.
Yeah.
Do you feel that people, who are more empathic and, sensitive are attracted more to the healing arts?
I'd say yes, just because of the people around me in the healing arts, they all are that way. Yeah, I would say they're drawn to that because when you're
Do you
that way, you're a deeper feeling person, and you get more into the nitty gritty of. For me, it's always the why. Like, why is it that
Yeah,
way, or why is that? Why does that? Why do I feel that way, or why is it? Why are things that way? So for me, I just always want to go in and understand it.
yeah. Do you think it helps to understand it to actually get through it?
Yes and no, because I think you can get totally stuck in the understanding of things because you do have to actually take action to work through stuff. You have to move. It's a physical action to move energy through your body. You can't stay up in your head forever, right? So initially, I think initially, yeah, you want to understand it. But I can totally get caught up in a loop on that. And you have to force yourself
Yeah.
to like move it.
Yeah. Well, that is a good lead into what we also were discussing, was how exercise can help move energy.
1000%.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on your yoga journey because you're also a certified yoga instructor. So I think that's just incredible. So how do you feel that connection between, moving energy and healing in general ties in with exercise? I mean, I know I feel it's like exercise is like medicine. Do you feel the same way?
Yes, the issues are in our tissues, that's what they say, right? So
Mhm.
exercise actually moves things. So when we have like any kind of stuck energy, now the big word is like trauma. It's just stuck energy, right? Something happens and it doesn't move and it gets stuck somewhere. So when you exercise, you're pumping blood, you're moving tissue, your lymph, you're doing all these things. That's how it actually moves and gets out of you. So it's necessary in order for that to happen. Yoga
Yeah,
specifically moves and twists your body in specific ways to open up and to open up the chakras in addition to keeping the spine supple and limber to keep the energy flowing as well. So it's like, all these things are helpful. They're like tools in a tool basket.
mhm,
I don't think using one thing is the magic pill. I think we need multiple things and doing them all the time and changing things. Sometimes you do something for a little while and then you go on to something else, and that's fine too.
yeah, yeah, and then, and even always learning things that it's so good for your mind too to just keep learning different modalities and trying different types of exercise. I so see what you're saying because it makes sense that the Reiki and acupuncture and yoga would all go hand in hand because it's all moving energy. And that's something that probably I would think would aid in healing people even when they are sick. Like any type of movement is, and just not staying stagnant and keeping that energy stagnant. Even if you are experiencing any type of illness, maybe, and I don't know if you agree, but just maybe making yourself move a little bit even when you're not feeling your best can maybe help you to feel better. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, even now, so years ago, you would get sick, you'd go to the hospital, and you'd lay in a bed for weeks, right? Now, people are getting new joints put in and they're getting like hoisted out of there in a day. And they're like, oh, you're going home and you're
Yeah.
walking. So I mean, if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Once we're stagnant, that's when we die. Like you have to keep moving. And that's not to say you shouldn't
Yep.
stop and assess and evaluate there's a time and a place, but I think for me anyway, I mean, I could totally get stuck places and I have to force myself to move through things and move. But I always if you can attest to this as well, you find when you're moving, you feel better. in general. Even in the morning, we're, at this age, we're all stiff and if I were left to my own devices, I would just like stay in my pajamas and sit on the couch. But no, I have to go to work. I have to take a
Yeah.
shower. I got to. And then all of a sudden you're at work and you're like, I feel so much better now. Right?
Yeah.
Because you weren't even
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about it. You just moved. You just did what you had to do. When you force yourself to go to the
Yeah.
gym, you feel like $1,000,000 after you leave. But before you went there, you were like, oh, I don't want to do this. I feel so tired. I just worked all day. I just ate. I don't want to move. I just want to sit here. But when you force yourself, because it's
Yeah.
all in our head, you force yourself out of it. It's amazing. So movement is medicine. Yes.
Absolutely. There's this, did you ever hear of Mel Robbins?
Yeah.
She's that inspirational, whatever. But, she had this 5-second rule, and it was
Uh-huh.
like during the pandemic. And I just, everybody was just like being such a couch potato. And I was listening to it one night and I was like, I'm going to do this. And she says that you have to say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed. And like
Okay.
you just get out of bed and then you just project yourself because if you hesitate for a second, you're not going to get
Right.
out of bed. And
Right.
I literally started doing it to start walking in the morning, and
Okay. That's great.
and it was great, but it was such a simple thing, and I'm sure she repackaged it from somebody else and made $1,000,000 off of it, but or millions of dollars, but either way, she was and people have said that, but I'm like, either way, she was still getting the message out there, and I didn't hear it before, so if she repackaged it, I received it, and it worked for me,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, and now I apply it to everything,
Uh,
like, if I have to write something, like, fi I it's just, like, forces your brain into, like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. And if you don't do it, you're just that second of hesitation is gonna you're probably not going to do it.
Right.
So I apply to everything, but especially to exercise because my day is different. If I don't exercise in the morning, my day is gonna go a completely different way. Like, my
Okay.
husband will sometimes say he'll call me, like, if he's traveling, "Did you go to the gym today?" Like, he'll say, because I actually take it, cardio makes just gets that emotion out of me, that everything. And they have studies that say, and I'm not gonna quote the study because I can't think of exactly what it was, but I just heard it recently, that exercise actually it actually makes you forget traumatic things. Like, if you keep exercising, it causes, like, some sort of amnesia to bad things that have
Okay.
happened.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I said
I didn't know.
yeah, so I think that sort of makes sense because after you run or after you just get all of a sudden you might have gone in there with these bad emotions and then all of a sudden you're not feeling them anymore. And so, but this study says that it actually does change your way of thinking about the past because if you exercise regularly, you're not dwelling on those things that often.
That's
So
great.
eventually, yeah, it almost becomes like a reset. But, obviously you have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that made sense to me because I'm like, "Wow, that's how I feel after I do especially cardio," because you're just, like, getting and I understand why that's why people I think are addicted to running because they just get that, like after a while, you're just not thinking of anything. Like,
Yeah.
you're just going. So it's almost like a meditation, but in motion.
I was just gonna say that. It actually is because anything that you do repetitive puts you in a meditative state. So running,
Wow.
your feet are, you have this rhythm and you're breathing and you're just doing that one thing. You're focused on that one thing. That's puts you in a
Mhm.
meditative. Anything that put that you have to focus on and you're doing something in that way, it puts you in a meditative state. So you could be meditating when you're washing the dishes,
Yeah.
you know,
Even when you're
because
doing
you're
the laundry thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, running is
Folding
one of the
clothes.
great things. Yeah.
That actually now that I think about it, that actually, you can just, like, disappear into it, especially when there's a lot of clothes to fold.
Yeah.
Not the
But
not the
running
most
especially,
fun
because then you're
meditation.
getting the exercise part of it also, which is
Yeah,
great.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't say enough about it because for me, I take it like medicine, and when I don't take my medicine, I'm cranky. So, it's it definitely works for me, and then, on the days that I don't do it, I do feel like this is the only thing that I don't like about it, I think that people need to give themselves grace when they don't want to go to the gym or when they don't want to do, any type of vigorous exercise because just you can get exercise in all different types of ways. But I think especially when you start going to the gym, if you have a day that you didn't go, you can feel a sense of disappointment in yourself. And that's something that I'm working to not do anymore. Sometimes I'll say, okay, now I'm starting to, okay, I didn't go to the gym this morning, but I'll just walk the dogs longer today. Or, I'll walk up and down the stairs more, or I'll do something, but like it's not the be all end all if you didn't get to the gym. You can get movement in other ways. So that's the only thing that I would say, like, if you are working out, people need to be a little bit easier on themselves if they have a day that they didn't actually, go. But as long as you get back to it at some point, just
Yes.
don't stop and just never start again.
Right. Right. So that, yeah, there's a fine line because something good can become something bad if you're looking at it in such a rigid from such a rigid place, then it's like
Yep.
a compulsion, which then is unhealthy.
Yeah. And it's such a fine line, right? It can
Yes.
get there. So
Yeah.
that's exactly what you're saying is exactly what I'm talking about. Like that I've seen people that, like hardcore and nothing against anybody who's hardcore working out because believe me, I do not hardcore work out. I do the bare minimum, but I know I need to do more, but then you have the other extreme of people who are
Yes.
hardcore and it actually becomes like a compulsion, and I
Yeah.
think that I almost feel bad for them because it's a stress and on them, and I think that does the opposite of what exercise is supposed to
Correct.
do. You're not
Yeah.
it's
That's right.
probably building your cortisol up instead of, like, reducing
Yes.
it when you're stressed
Right.
out. Yeah, so I don't think I have any fear of ever becoming one of those people, so I don't have to worry, but I do see it sometimes in certain people and sometimes I say like, "Oh, it must be a really fine line," because when you use anything too much, it can become unhealthy, even if it is
Yes.
exercise.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's where I think like yoga comes in. It's a lot more gentle, and I mean, as a certified yoga instructor, tell me, can you overdo something like yoga?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You
there's
can.
totally yeah, people who are into, like, those extreme yoga, like power yoga, or if they do yoga, like, as a com just like anything else, it's just like being addicted to a drug, Or they have this
Mm,
compulsion where they have to be the best yoga instructor. Just it's like anything else. It becomes is it your ego talking, or are you listening
yeah.
to your body, you know? It it's just like anything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a whole industry of full of people like that. Yeah.
And it's funny because the whole thing about yoga is because listen, I'm guilty of it too. I don't actually now that I'm older, I just don't care. Like I don't do this anymore, which is I've actually noticed it. But I remember being in yoga classes and you are silently comparing yourself to other people, like, oh, she can do that. Or like when you're going to go into a pose, like you can you're not like competing with them, but you're looking at them and you can start to compare yourself like how far she is and how far
Right.
you are. And I remember an instructor saying, like, that's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be something that's actually like you're supposed to be very gentle with your body and not am I right? Like you're not supposed to judge your movements. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
true or not,
So
but yeah.
I I mean, I can only speak to what I've observed, and when yoga became a Western, exercise versus what yoga traditionally was meant for, then yeah, it became all about that. Who's the best yogi? Who can get into the pose? Who can touch the floor? Who can twist into a pretzel? And if you're looking off your mat and you're not feeling in your body, then you're not doing yoga. You're doing something else. You're doing some kind of
Yeah.
exercise or some kind of something, but you're not doing yoga. So somebody who is a paraplegic in a wheelchair and they can move their finger like this, trying to get into a pose, is doing more yoga than that other person who's trying to get themselves into the perfect pretzel.
Yeah. That
Okay.
yes. I mean, just back to the example that anything can become unhealthy, even
Right.
yoga, which is supposed to be the opposite of unhealthy. It's
Right. So,
it's
for instance,
and you
a
can't. Is
yoga,
it it's more your mind?
well, a yoga pose is a direction, right? So the teacher gives you a direction on how to move your body to get your body into a certain place for a specific reason. It's to stretch a certain body part, to open up an organ, to get blood flow in a certain area. But if your body mechanics don't do that, you're just supposed to listen to the instructions and do that pose in the way that your body can do it while listening to those instructions without looking anywhere else and just feeling into your body and doing it to the best of your ability in that moment. And that is the full expression of yoga without any judgment, without any saying, oh, am I doing it right? I'm not doing it right. You're just supposed to move your body in the way that the teacher is instructing to the best that your body can do that. The teacher then can
Right.
come over and try to guide if they see, like, maybe they can say, maybe your arm can go a little bit further, but maybe it can't.
Mm,
But a good teacher will come over and gently try to guide you to do that. But if it can't, then you stay where you are. And you
mm.
are doing the perfect yoga pose in that moment by doing what your body can do. Yeah.
I mean, that's really eye-opening to me because I feel like a lot of times when I have been in yoga classes that I used to do yoga often. I honestly don't do it as much anymore. I feel like I lean more towards Pilates now, but yoga I feel like is a totally different experience because I think it's something that it makes you like connect back to your body, which I think we were discussing. It's so a lot of people are walking around disconnected from their body, so I think it brings you back. But it's really eye-opening that you say that because I've been in classes and I think personally, I remember feeling that I wasn't doing actual yoga. I was taking it as an exercise. Like this is going to get me in shape or like not really feeling the poses, just trying to get into the pose.
Yeah.
And which some can actually hurt you. And
Hmm.
so the mindset wasn't I never honestly had a teacher, like just in the gym that would put it to me the way you did, because I think that that's a much gentler way of looking at it, and you don't I think it would something that also would make you go back to the class more because there's no pressure. Because 'cause I've had instructors that actually will try to push you into, like, really push you, and then you also walk away feeling like, "Okay," like, if they couldn't get you into that position, then you failed, like
Right.
that, and I love the way you're thinking of it and explaining it, that it's not something that the be all end all isn't if you got into that pose, it's like it's the journey to get to that pose.
Right. Well, you do want a teacher who can challenge you because maybe. So here's the thing. So when I'm teaching class, my job is to watch my students to make sure, a first and foremost, that they're not doing anything that they're going to hurt themselves. So they're in alignment. They're not going to get hurt. And then secondly, you could be looking like you're in a yoga pose, but I can tell that you're really not utilizing that muscle in your right leg. So I'm going to say, Angela, press down into that back heel, or I'll walk up to you and push onto that heel. So, and then I'll make you do it so that now you're utilizing the muscles in the way that they're supposed to be utilized in that pose. But I will never push you past what you're able to do, but you do want to be challenged to maybe
Mm,
get to the next level. So there is a fine line. So you do want somebody to challenge you, but you don't want somebody to put you in a
push you.
place where you're out of integrity.
That makes sense, and then I guess, especially when you tell me when you first start doing yoga, especially somebody who never did yoga before, it is a it is a gradual because I remember when say I took a yoga class tomorrow, I haven't done yoga in so long that it's gonna be difficult for me, but what I found with yoga is, like, it's that bicycle thing, the more you keep doing it, the more flexible you get and the easier it is to get into those poses. Do you think that part of that and this is, I might be going, like, way too deep in this, but, like, part of that process of yoga also can teach you something about life because it's gonna maybe hurt, like, not hurt, but be a little bit uncomfortable until you can get more into the flow of anything. Because I do
Yes.
find that, like poses like pigeon, which are really I feel like it takes a while to get there, like, and then you have these people that are right, like, on the floor. And I know that that type of pose for most people is a process, right, to get there. Would you think that that's like sort of like a metaphor with things in like life a little bit, right? Like, it's a process sometimes, but if you don't keep doing it, it's not gonna work out. So even if you can't do it in the beginning doesn't mean you're not gonna be able to do it eventually.
Yeah, so there's a saying that, anyone who's a master at anything, they just showed up. They just kept showing up, right? So eventually you'll become the master if you keep showing up and keep doing it, right? But you're not going to do it on
Yeah.
the first day, right? So I used to have this thing, this crazy thought in my head that I was a terrible artist because I thought that I was supposed to already know how to paint masterpieces. Like, and if I didn't know how to paint this thing perfectly and it didn't look like a masterpiece, then it's shit and I should just throw it out and never do art again. Until I went to I don't know why I thought this way, but I went to like an artist studio or something and he was like showing me his work and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is I spent like, weeks just like doodling and sketching and trying to get the thing right." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "What do you mean you did like a million sketches?" Like I didn't even understand that that was like a part of his process. I just thought he took this canvas out and painted this thing and it was like this amazing, and it was like it opened my mind to understanding that no matter who you are, nothing just I mean sometimes it comes just out of the gate, but most times it's a work in progress, right? So life, we're all a work in progress. Not to sound cliche,
I love that you
but it's so
It's no,
cliche,
it is.
sorry.
It's cliche, but it's true. And I love that you say that because I feel the same way about a lot of things. And then I love seeing that. I think that's why I love like reading like biographies of people because especially people who have like or what we see as accomplished. Because when you really get to the behind the scenes, it didn't just happen. It was a process,
Right.
and a lot of stuff happens
Yeah.
to bad, good, and especially like you said with painting because I love art too and I paint as well. But you will look at a painting and to your point, like you'll say like it just got there. But then you didn't see the millions of sketches that they did before it. And it humanizes the artist. And I think a lot of times we'll look at artists or anybody who is like at a certain point, like a teacher of anything, like of any type of like yoga or anything, like that they're just good. They just got there. They're good. But you don't really see the road going up to it. And I think it's so important to see the road and to have people expose that it wasn't just overnight because I think the reason why I admire you so much is because you've done things whether you do them on a regular use it on a regular basis, you've started things and you finished it to the end till you became certified. And I think that that's like I think that that teaches you, it builds such a muscle in you. I don't know if you realize this about yourself, but it's something that's really an admirable quality because not a lot of people will follow through, number one. I think I had told you my sister in law just got her Pilates. She's a certified Pilates instructor now. And I'm just so proud of her because it was such a journey. But to start that and watch her go through all that, like you really feel I don't know, like, you just really feel admiration for that person because I think that, there must have been a lot of times throughout that journey that wasn't, like, easy, and it's not like, becoming, like, an instructor is not gonna be like, "Okay, hey, you're an instructor." You gotta do some hard work to get to that point that people are gonna follow you, but I don't think everybody always sees that. They don't think about the teacher that's in front of them, like, they had to go through a year of training to get
Right.
to get to that point, you know?
Right.
Or maybe they failed and had to go for the certification all over again, like that
Yeah.
that happens to people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I went through yoga training, my goal wasn't to be a teacher. I went through yoga training for myself. I think honestly, I feel like everybody should go through yoga teacher training cuz you learn so much about yourself. You change. You
Yeah.
change as a human being. You just get deeper and you learn. It shows you all of everything that you need to look at. And then you can make a decision whether or not you want to work on that.
So we're having, like, a lot of technical difficulties right now, like, it's hard for me, you're going in and out, but I want us to keep talking because I feel like even if somebody is listening on Spotify oh, there you go. I see your beautiful face. I couldn't
I'm
see
sorry.
you before.
facing the other way, maybe because the sun was in it. Sorry, I apologize.
No, no, you're fine. I just kept I just wanted to keep going. I was like, "Oh, we'll edit it later," but I see you now. That's great. Yeah, like I think that, just the fact that you said that you did it just for yourself with not like the end game to be able to teach. I don't know, there's just something about that ability in some people that they need or that desire that they need not to just go to the class, they need to be the class. Like they need to like
Yeah.
actually to go inside the class and, like, really learn it and not just, like, go and then leave. I don't know, like, that's always just, like, an amazing quality to me, like, somebody who really wants to dig that deep into it, and the end game is just to fill themselves up with
Yeah.
the
And
knowledge or,
once I
of
went
it.
through yoga teacher training, I realized that I wasn't even doing yoga when I was going to yoga class. I was like, I don't even know what I was doing because we spoke about this before. For myself anyway, I've been dissociated for probably most of my life for many different reasons, and doing things like yoga forces you to be more embodied. And until you really go through yoga teacher training, like you're really not in the pose and understanding the anatomy and the breath and how all of those things work synergistically and how it affects you. So yeah, most of the time I was in yoga class. Probably just not really doing yoga.
That's probably, like, half the times I was in yoga class, and the few times that I actually felt I was doing it right, it was a totally different experience, like,
Yeah,
completely different.
yeah,
And, but what you were saying about yoga or any type of physical activity, I think we did discuss this, that it was introduced to me when I was in the hospital and having a when I was younger and a disassociation with my body, and they actually incorporated it into my therapy to bring me back into my body, and it really was effective. I think that's why I did it for so many years, so every time and back then, like we were saying before, it wasn't as mainstream, so I didn't know what it was, it was like they were just showing me this thing called yoga, and it's supposed to help you to connect back to your body, but the truth is that it really does, and I don't know whether it's because it's making you stop if you have to do a pose and you have to, like, actually, like, get in touch with your arm and, like, get in touch like, like, you have to actually feel these, like, body parts in order to get them to go to a different, like, part of your body, and, maybe that is like it makes a connection between, your mind and your body. I mean, that's just the way I guess I'm seeing it. But I think to your point, it's way more than just getting on a mat and like twisting yourself up. It's a way it's much more involved than that. And I think to get to that other like level of involvement and get the result of what it's actually supposed to be doing for you, I think you really do have to find somebody to teach you to do it correctly and not
yes,
just, like, power through it. 'Cause I
yeah,
know I've been in yoga classes and you're just powering through it, and you're not really feeling what it's supposed to actually do. I think at somewhere along the line, it did end up becoming something that was for fitness, like,
yes,
getting it will get you in, like, great shape and things
yeah.
like that. But I think it really didn't s it correct me if I'm wrong, it didn't really start that way. Like, that's not really what the practice was supposed to be about.
So yoga traditionally started in India and was only available to male gurus. And the whole purpose of doing yoga was to open up the energy channels and twisting the body and open the chakras so that they could sit for days in meditation comfortably. That was the only
Wow.
purpose. Yeah.
That's not at all what I thought it yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, so, I mean, just and I would think that when you're going for to become a yoga instructor, you learn all those, like, origin stories, right?
Well, I also think it depends on where you get your training from. So yeah, where I went to a very traditional ashram to get the
Mm,
training. So yeah, I was fortunate to learn really well the philosophy, and anatomy, and how to become a teacher. So all the things.
mm.
So some places you can go to get yoga certified just to learn how to do poses. You won't necessarily get. It depends.
Do you choose that? Do you choose, like, how you wanna learn? So there are schools that you're not that will just go and just teach you how to teach people how to get into poses and not the whole philosophy behind behind it.
Well, yeah, I don't know if they actually call it yoga, but they might call it like, the people, a lot of the people that not all the people at the gym, but there's a type of exercise that they I think they call it some kind of yoga, but it's like yoga fitness or something. You could just learn stuff like over a week or something like that.
Mm,
I don't know all of them, but I'm sure that there's plenty
yeah,
of places where you're not going to get the deep traditional teaching with the philosophy included in that. I was
good.
fortunate enough to have that. But I
So
think,
when you go
I was just saying, I mean, I think just like everything else, there's many different ways to get something and it depends on what you're looking for as an individual.
yeah, totally. And, like, and, movement is good in any way, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
if you're
So it's
it's
still
you're
going to
gonna get
benefit
something out of
that.
it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Let me see what else I wanted to tell you. I wanted to ask you. So we were talking about, the effects of these healing modalities. Like, how do you feel it affects your nervous system when you're doing any one of these?
It definitely helps to regulate your nervous system. I tend to be more of an anxious, nervous type of a person. And when I was younger, I was like really wound way tight. I was like a really wound up person. It taught me to relax a lot more, to be more present, to take a pause before responding and reacting to situations so that it gives you more of a chance to make a different choice. If you tend to react in a habitual way, that doesn't foster, a good outcome in your life. When you slow down and you get more embodied and empowered in your body with your breath, it enables you to have more time buffer to make different choices and to be more present to see what's in front of you versus reaction.
So I'll give you a good example how you're just telling me this, but I just actually experienced this with you because when this podcast did not record, which I'm grateful because it's like turning into a totally different podcast now. But when it didn't record, I literally flipped a wig. I was like no, like I flipped, and then I contacted you because I was like I just wasted Nicole's time. Like oh my god, I was freaking out. And I text you and you were like, "No problem." You're like, "Let's just again." And I was just I couldn't believe how calm you were in the reaction. So, well, yeah, whatever you're doing works. Whatever you're doing, I need to do. Because I was, like, just devastated. I was like, "How" "Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do." And then, I'm happy that I just reached out and told you, and then you just so graciously were like, "It's okay. Just let me get something to eat, and then we'll get hop right back on." And so I think that definitely is showing it's very evident that obviously you're doing something to keep yourself very like it's not the end of the world thing where I thought it was the end of the world. So I definitely need to start taking some lessons from you for sure. I should probably start doing yoga. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Well, I
And I
I teach on Zoom, so if you're ever interested in coming
you
to my
teach
class,
on Zoom? I had
yeah,
no idea that you teach on Zoom. You have to give us all this information, so I can put it in the show notes. I
yeah,
Reiki, your Zoom yoga class for sure, because I will
yeah. Ever
definitely
since
be
ever since
uh,
COVID, I moved it onto Zoom. Well, it's not Zoom now. Now it's on Google Meets.
so somebody would just log on to, like, a link and then
Yeah, so we'd have to kinda talk first, so I do have a website, but I don't have, like, a direct link to say, "Oh, if you wanna take my class, just click this link." I need to have more of a connection with the person before they enter. I've become very selective, so I like to connect with the
uh,
person first and have a conversation with them at first to understand certain things before they join my class, and then once you're in my class, I'd put you in a thread, and we just I'll tell you when my class schedule for the week, and then once you say, "Yes, I'm coming to class," I send you the Google Meet.
oh, that's great. I didn't even know that. So, I mean, that makes sense because you want your class to have, like, a certain, you know you wanna have a certain energy in your class, so you might wanna get to know the person a little bit before they actually join. I mean, but
Yes,
then, eh
I've had for, like, 10, 12 years.
wow, I didn't know that. That is so great, and so great to know because especially if because it can be from anybody anywhere, like, I'm in Tennessee, I can take your class. So, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it
I'm
all
definitely
started
going
at
to.
COVID because I used to teach in people's houses, and then COVID happened, so we just moved it on to, online, which worked out great because some of those people moved away and they could still take my class.
Yeah. No, I love that, and then a lot of these COVID things just stuck, right? They just people just kept
Yeah.
I mean, what's better than being able to do it out of your house? I mean,
I mean,
it's
don't
you
get me wrong,
know
I love being in person with my students, and there is an element that, is kind of it's definitely nicer to be in person, but we just have a long-standing relationship that my students are great, and it was seamless.
You know what I love about you? Like, I love a lot of things about you, but the thing that is really coming off is, like, you have a lot of connection, which we were, like, circling back to, like, healing in all different ways. You have a lot of connection and a lot of connection to people, and I think personally, especially being, now away from family and away from everything and being in a very new place and not really knowing anybody, I realize more and more, like, how important connection is to your, like, mental health, and I'm sure that helps your physical health as well, but as, the more and more we speak, the more I realize how much connection you have, especially through all these different modalities, and then also I had mentioned in the intro, you're also an accomplished artist, so you have that art community, and you have the Reiki community and the yoga community, like, how amazing to have all that connection to just, like, be able to tap in to different, people. And do you feel that connection to other people, whether it be through phone, Zoom, or in person, that actually is part of the whole, like, healing like, the whole healing circle? Like, is that an integral part? Like, you can be home and, doing these tapes, just with, like, somebody, like, on YouTube, but do you feel it's more important to actually have that connection with the actual person or people, and that can actually help in healing as well?
For me personally, yes, I'm very much a connection person. Other people may not be, but for myself, I need to connect to people. I need to have, like, this conversation with you to me is very healing because I don't
Yeah, me
have
too.
these deep conversations with a lot of people, and I love when I know that you're getting what I'm saying and we're bouncing off of each other and
I know.
you're filling up my heart right now. You know what I mean? And I'm
Same.
grateful that you
Same,
even
girl.
offered,
Same.
it, you know? So, and this conversation is a completely different one than we just had an hour ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
I know. As we said, and and organically, right? It
yeah,
just organically went in a different direction, which is you know what?
I knew
I
that
have
was
to
going to happen.
say that
We hung up. I was like, I hope I answered all of her questions as deeply as I wanted to because I feel like we might have missed a couple of things. And then you text me and you say, I didn't record it. And I was like, laughed. I was like, that is hysterical.
I was it is, and you know what? I thought I even said to you, it will be even better because it's sort of like, we had a practice run, but when I said to you before, when we spoke before the podcast, I knew our conversation was gonna be an organic conversation, and that's all I ever wanna have is
Yeah,
organic conversations and let it go, like, where it's gonna go because that is, like you said, like, it just fills up your heart. It's not like a real conversation unless it's just like going, like, and going, and
yeah,
we can probably talk for, like, ever, and then, obviously, you just pick a subject, but the truth is, like, behind it all, I just wanted to have a conversation with you, and I just
mhm.
wanted to, like, present you to the world and, like, have you more
Aw,
people see you, and, like, whether it be on YouTube or, Spotify or whatever, because I feel like that's how I'm navigating this. It's like, who are these people that I really just want to, like, show to the world, like, and have these conversations. And then Reiki just ends up being like this reason for us to
right.
have a conversation. And
Yeah.
and then and other people learn about it too. So yeah, you fill my
You
heart too.
are,
Definitely.
yeah. But
Yeah.
going back to what you're saying, I've never been a surface person. So I feed off of connection. So even like,
Yeah.
this works, but I'm more of even like in-person tactile. Like I love to hug people. I like, I'm just that way.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know if you feel the same way, but when I was younger, we had relationships and they weren't like you have them because you feel like you have to have them or it's just like the group that you're into. And I just always remember I was like, now I do only wanna talk to people who I'm really having real conversations with. Like, I
Yeah.
realize, like, how many sometimes
Yeah.
maybe you're not even allowing yourself to have those conversations because maybe it's just not where that other person wants to go. But, like, I wanna be around people who wanna go there. I wanna be around people
Exact
who, like, my real conversations. I want them to be
exactly.
real conversations, right? Because what's the point otherwise? And I think I I think you I think at a certain point in life, though, I feel like you actually start to find your tribe, and it just happens, it happens,
Yeah.
I don't know, organically. Like, you just end up, like, finding the people that you actually really do wanna to speak to, and, you know, like, a
Yeah.
real conversation is a healing thing, it's a really
It
healing
really
thing.
is.
So
Yeah.
it is. So I want to make sure that did we touch on art? I don't know. We discussed your art, but Nicole is also a very accomplished artist, which is just another one of the things that she does. I think we discussed you showed your art just recently, right?
Yeah, so I've been doing art my whole life. My parents sent me to classes as a kid, and then I went to the High School of Art and Design, and then I went to School of Visual Arts for a little while. And I on and off I've taken art classes as an adult at the Douglaston Art League, and then I studied privately with a master pastelist and I did portraits. I've been commissioned to do many pieces, big landscapes for people's offices and things like that. But right now, I'm involved with a group called Brooklyn One. Well, they're BK One Productions, and they're in Industry City, and they have monthly art shows in a gallery.
Mhm.
So they have a roster of artists, and depending on the show that they're having, they'll ask certain artists to participate in it. And it's great because it keeps me working, you know. It'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I have a show up in a month. I have to do a piece for that."
When you have that, like an upcoming show and you have to produce a piece, it's a very different feeling than when you're just painting you have no, timeline. Is it pressure when you have to
Yeah.
paint something? Is it
Yeah.
good pressure or it's bad
Probably,
pressure?
but for somebody like me, because I have anxiety, like sometimes I can be crazy. But
Yeah.
I have to utilize my tools, which I don't always, I'm a human being. So if I have enough time, I still have the anxiety, but I work through it and I will bounce off of other art friends I'll ask for their advice on, certain things I might be stuck in some way in the painting. So I'll work through that. But I am going to start taking art classes again. So for me, I'm the type of person that I need to consistently do like a class. It'll just keep me going. And then having a teacher to bounce off of will just keep me in the work mode where I'm not, just doing work to be in a show. Because if I'm left to my own devices, I probably won't do my best work. But if I have a
Yeah.
class that I show up to weekly, I'll have a piece that I keep working on and I have to show up and, do it for that specific amount of time, for the 2 hours or whatever the class is. So that's just how
Yeah.
I work. If I'm left to my own devices, I'll be honest, I'm very lazy in all areas of my life. So we touched on
Yeah.
this on the last
Yeah.
conversation. Even with
Yeah. Yeah.
exercise, I have to pay to go to a trainer to show up to exercise because that's how it
Yeah.
works. Otherwise, I won't go.
But I'm realizing there's something to it because even that I feel that that actually is the way to go because if you also are somebody like even myself that like I need structure to be motivated and
Yes.
so I think we were discussing like I really have to start lifting weights. I know it's something that is, at a certain age, you have to start doing it. I've been
Yeah.
avoiding it like the plague. But I'm finally realizing now because I have my very good friend Angie is like lifting weights you know, like a champ now, and she's like incredible, but she goes to a trainer. So I keep saying to myself, I'm gonna teach myself, but now I'm realizing the only way I'm
Just
going
go to the
to do it
yeah.
if I pay somebody and then I
Yes.
have to go, and if I'm not gonna you know what I mean? I'm not gonna lose my money, I'm gonna go to that class that I actually have to do. So I do feel like putting those guardrails into your life is a very smart thing to do because I know without structure, I fall apart and I need it. So, I think it's just brilliant to do that actually, because you know yourself, and knowing yourself, you can just sit around and do nothing, or you actually implemented ways for you to do things like that. That's a lot of motivation. Like they say, like even people with like ADHD, like you know, I think we discussed it. Like you have to have structure. You have to
Yeah,
write things down, like what you're going to do that day, the night before, and have something to follow. So
yeah.
no matter how you get there, I'm pretty sure that, like, anybody who is accomplished in any way has to have some sort of structure in their
Well,
life
there are
to
do it for themselves. I'm not one of those people. I keep thinking I'm going to be one of those people, but I'm really not one of
Yeah.
those people. And at this age, I
Yeah,
have to
I
stop
agree.
kidding myself.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I think same. I'm, like, now realizing, like, "Oh, my brain doesn't work that way," and I have to, like,
Right.
I have to figure out a different way for it to work, and it's okay, instead of trying to be that person who just it comes easy, or like you said, self-motivates themselves. Like, if I
Yeah.
don't do a list before I go to sleep, what's gonna happen the next day is a crapshoot. Like, I have no idea. So, but I think those tools, like, just even getting to know yourself enough to know that you need those tools, or to go to a class. I am the same way. I love to go to classes. I Because I need that teacher in front of me to I need that teacher in front of me to motivate me to do it. Like I need somebody. I like to be told what to do. Sometimes, like I think it just sometimes it's a little easier when the teacher is like coming over and like showing you like what to do.
Well,
When
it's
you go to
not
art
just
classes.
like even like for yoga, let's just say. I know myself. I'm a yoga teacher. When I'm doing my own yoga, right? I could be in a pose, but if I were doing it every day or whatever, there's definitely going to be some days where my brain starts, thinking about other things and I'm not really in the pose the way that I'm supposed to be in the pose. But if I'm in a class, even as a teacher, you have a teacher that's there for that purpose to keep you focused and to say, "Hey, Nicole, move your arm, press into that." That's what you're there for. I mean, that's why I
Yeah,
get paid to watch people, to notice, "Hey, you could push that arm a little bit more. You're not
yeah.
breathing. Are you breathing?" We all need that. I mean, and to me, that's being in communion with other people. I think that's what's so important. We help each other. We work with each other. We push each other to be the best
Well,
that we
that's
can
why
be.
getting back to like what I was saying, how I admire when people go through like the to get the certification, because you know I don't know if everybody really. I really have a deep appreciation for teachers, especially like, fitness teachers or art teachers or teachers of anything. Because I think like first of all, it's a very selfless thing to do. But what would the rest of us do without somebody who stepped up to the plate to become a teacher? Right? Because there are a lot of people who just aren't going to be teachers. Like, I'm not going to be a teacher. So, like without these teachers, like, I really have a deep appreciation for it, because I'm like, wow, like they really, got up there and like taught a class. And like I would have never have known what to do if that person didn't like teach me. you know, you're in a totally different mindset when you're the teacher. You're not just like sitting and
Yeah.
receiving the instruction. You're giving the instruction. And I think that that is such, like you said, you're in communion with people when you're doing that. But I think it's also a very selfless act to be a teacher of any sort, because you're really, if you're a good teacher, you're really concerned, or really want that person to take in what you're teaching them, to get them to a different like level. And that's like, I think that's very selfless. It's not just going and sitting on the mat. It's actually showing, like you said, showing somebody how to breathe. Like some people don't know how to breathe. And, like I think you learn that in these certification classes, like how to actually show somebody else. And I also think it's such a selfless thing, because I think a lot of times, and just because I think this is just because who the type of people we are, I'll think like that teacher probably maybe had a shitty day before she got to that class, but then she had to
Possibly.
like, like she like was like, okay, now I'm not, it's not about me, it's about these people. And that I
Right.
think that's it's a very it's a great thing to have the ability to wanna be that person that is standing up in front of all those people and putting herself aside or himself aside and and just being there for the people. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm trying. Yeah. And thank all you teachers for doing that. So
It's not completely selfless, believe it or not, because you get something when you teach, you're still receiving. There's something about when they say if you're having a shitty day, go help somebody or go do something for somebody else?
yeah,
So,
get out of
it
your head.
does help you get out of your own shitty, whatever. It helps
Yeah.
you to shift whatever's going on. So, it's definitely symbiotic.
Yeah, exactly. That's yes, I agree. It's all good. It helps you helping them helps you, helps them. Yeah, it is definitely. Well, Nicole, this was a great conversation. I can't thank you enough for hopping back on. You're
Oh, no.
amazing. So I just want to, well, we touched on this before, but I have to ask you again, what is one thing that you're doing right now in life that's making you feel good?
Right now, the 2 things that I'm doing is I'm eating very consciously. So, about a year and a half ago, I switched to a whole foods plant-based diet.
What does that mean?
And so I eat only whole foods, and I'm not 100%, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So, when I go out or when I go to parties, I still, will dabble here and there with other things, but for the most part, I cook all my own food and everything is a whole food. So, nothing is processed. Nothing is from a box or a can or anything like that. Everything is a whole food. And when I cook my food at home, it's plant based. So I'm vegan, no cheese, no dairy, no meat.
How is that do you feel the visible the physical difference from in
Yeah,
eating that?
in a lot of ways. I sleep much better. I lost a lot of weight. I feel clearer. I have less pain. I have like inflammation issues, so I have less pain in my body. Yeah, a lot of different things.
That's good to know. That's good to know. And when
Weight
you say like that?
Sorry, finish what you were saying, I'm sorry.
No, I just said that's really good to know, and I you when you say whole foods, you mean, like, you're actually, like, eating the vegetable, like, you're eating like, nothing is like, even vegetables wouldn't be canned, it's actually the vegetable, like, and you're cooking it and, like, you're
Yeah, and I'm eating
is that what it
whole food. So, I was working with a particular doctor, and he doesn't even like you to eat any oil because that's a processed food, and if you're
Oh.
gonna eat, if you need oil, eat an olive,
Huh.
eat an avocado,
I mean
eat a
it makes
eat a
fun because
yeah,
what if you wanted something sweet?
you can eat a piece of fruit, eat a date.
Dates are very sweet. They're very sweet. So, yeah, no, that's amazing. And you know what I love that you said? It's not all or nothing either, right? As long as you're doing it the majority of the time, again, going back to that, like, something like good for you can be bad. Like you give yourself that grace if you are somewhere and, you have to eat a little differently for that day.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say it's giving myself grace, but to be honest with you, I don't have that much willpower. So it's really difficult when you're around friends and family and they're eating like, your traditional meals that you would eat growing up. Like, oh my God, how do I say
Yeah.
no to that?
I mean,
So
you shouldn't really say no to that. That's yeah.
yeah.
Especially
So
Italian, I mean, come on, Nicole, you can't say no to Italian.
so yeah, but I do have to be careful because you could be like, oh, I'm just gonna have a little bit, and then before you know it, you're eating it 3 times a week. So,
Yeah.
but I
What
definitely
I
notice
found
a difference. Yeah,
what I
when
found
I'm
is,
clean.
like, when you're eating that way, like, if you do start to eat not clean, you feel it, right?
100% right away. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that's so good. So what is the other thing? You said there was another thing.
Oh, lifting weights. So I've always lifted weights on and off throughout my life in addition to yoga. But I got back into it with a personal trainer and it's amazing. I'm so glad it's the best decision I made in the last year. It turned everything around. It's so good for like you mentally. Just as you get older, like for me, I just noticed how much of my muscle mass was, not there anymore, which I never had that issue. So, and now as I get older, it's really important to keep as much muscle and bone strength as possible because we don't want to get injured. when we get older, and it's like the most important, especially as women with the lowered estrogen, you start to lose
Yeah.
bone bone. So you have to be careful.
You have no like, you're inspiring me so much, and you and my really good friend Angie, who is lifting weights, and, she's doing so amazing, and she's been doing it for a while, and she'll send me pictures of these, like, crazy heavy weights, and I think at this point, and her and I had said this, like, it's not even about being skinny anymore, it's about being strong,
Strong.
and that's, like, the main, like, goal now, and I know that there's no other way to get strong except if you lift weights. So and I know
Yes.
I can't keep avoiding it because to your point, you could just keep losing muscle tone, and it's a totally different ball game now. So I'm going to I swear tomorrow I'm at my gym, I'm gonna ask if there's somebody who can help me, lift some weights or
It's
go to
the
some sort of
best
weight.
investment. The best investment other than your diet. Those 2 things go hand in hand, and they're priceless. So,
Yeah, yeah. I heard at our age, it's even more important than cardio, like lifting
yeah,
weights.
yes.
I'm gonna do it. So, Nicole, let everybody know where they can find you for Reiki, and
Yeah.
then I'm gonna find out from you how to get in touch for your yoga class, like
So
how somebody can reach out to you, and then yeah, that's it. Let us know. How can we get in
so
touch with you for
website
Reiki?
is my website is nicoleadomonis.com. So that is
Okay,
show most of my services with my pricing on there. So that's for facials,
okay,
Reiki, waxing. And then you can find me on Facebook and Instagram if you want to reach out to me about signing up for my yoga classes and anything else, any other questions that you might have. And
okay.
that's where
I'm
I'll
gonna
be
make sure
posting all my artwork and things like that in my shows, my art.
I wanna see that. I wanna see your artwork. I mean, I've seen it, what you've posted, but I would love to see more, and I'm sure everybody else would love to see more too. This was an amazing conversation with Nicole. She is an amazing person. Everybody, I'm gonna put all her information in the show notes. Please reach out to her for Reiki or, the yoga class, but, or massage or facial. I would definitely say, like, check out the Reiki because it's a really, really cool thing to do, and she's an amazing practitioner. So, Nicole, thank you so much for being
Thank
so
you.
gracious to hop this. You are a great person, and,
Well, thank you for the
yeah,
today. I really enjoyed our conversation and so great to connect with you. And I wish you
me
all the best.
too, same. Thank you so much. Alright, I'll talk to you soon.
See you later.
See you later. Just stop.
How do we stop it?
I'm doing it now.
How do we hang up?
Okay.